Enjoy your time here and find peace in the stories we tell. If you liked the story, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to support the channel. Seeing how naive I was, my fiancé used sweet words to lure me into offering incense to the Buddha at West Mountain Temple in the middle of a snowstorm. He said gently, "Cease. Praying to the Buddha during a heavy snowfall is called true sincerity. The Buddha will surely answer, and you will get whatever you ask for." I was overjoyed upon hearing this. I took Sunny, hugged my wish jar tightly, and followed the snowy path deep into West Mountain. In the middle of the mountain, there was a small temple. Inside sat a male bodhisattva with a face so handsome it was hard to look away. He fed me porridge and gave meat to Sunny. Before leaving, I secretly stuffed the wish jar into his robes and whispered, "Lord Bodhisattva, can you help me fulfill this wish? I will definitely come back to repay the vow." He paused for a moment, then gently replied, "All right." Every single one of my wishes came true without the slightest error. However, on the day I prepared to go back and repay the vow, my fiancé angrily blocked my way, shouting, "You idiot. I told you to go to West Mountain Temple, not West Mountain." Then he gritted his teeth and said, "The Forbidden Gardens, where the second prince is living in seclusion." Snow hit the paper windows, making dry scratching sounds. Nanny Lou fumbled to tie my cloak, her thin hands trembling, unable to button it properly. "Miss, with the snow this heavy, must you go today?" "I must go." I looked at her eyes, which were covered by a white film, and spoke decisively. "Ray said that going on a snowy day shows sincerity, and only then will the Buddha grant my requests." "Miss, is young Master Chu going with you?" "No. Ray went to find Victoria Fang to play, but he arranged a carriage for me." Nanny Lou sighed softly. "With this snow, should this old servant go with you?" "Nanny, you cannot see. Stay in the estate and wait for me. I am bringing Sunny. He will protect me." The courtyard gate creaked open, and the cold wind blew snowflakes straight inside. Raymond Chu stood outside, wearing a soft silver fox fur coat, his appearance elegant like jade. "Are you done yet?" His voice was not loud, but it still made Nanny Lou's hands shake. "I am done, Ray, I am done." I pulled my old cloak tighter, hugged the small clay jar, led Sunny. His gaze stopped on the jar in my hand, and he frowned slightly. "What is that?" "It is a wish jar." I lowered my head, my voice a bit shy. Over the years, I secretly wrote down each of my wishes, folded them into small pieces of paper, and hid them in this clay jar. For example, wanting to eat freshly baked plum blossom sugar cakes at Jade Mountain Bakery. For example, hoping Nanny Lou's eyes could see a little better. For example, hoping that when Ray went to the Lantern Festival with Victoria, he might let me tag along. Countless petty wishes. Speaking them out would surely annoy Ray. Perhaps only the Buddha would have the patience to listen to them all. Sure enough, Raymond casually pulled a piece of paper from the jar, glanced at it, and then disdainfully threw it on the ground. "Wanting to ride a boat among fresh flowers. Cecilia Sue, you are this old, yet still so childish." He turned away and continued, "The carriage is outside, go quickly." West Mountain Temple was far, but since I said I would pray to the Buddha, I should not give up halfway. Outside the estate gate stood a slightly old carriage. The driver was an old man with an unfamiliar face. Seeing me come out, he only glanced at me, too lazy to even get down. "Uncle, I am going to West Mountain." I hugged the wish jar and happily climbed into the carriage. Sunny followed and jumped up to lie close to me. Along the way, passers-by were sparse. Occasionally, we met a few people hurrying with their necks hunched. Leaving the city, the snow fell heavier, and the old horse puffed with every breath. After going a bit further, the driver suddenly shouted, pulled the reins, and lifted the curtain. "Miss, the weather is like this, and the horse is tired. How about I show you a shortcut, and you walk a bit on your own? Turn left on this small path, go over the low slope on the right, and you will see the temple roof. I will wait for you here." The horse really cannot walk anymore. He spoke in one breath. My mind was hazy and I did not remember much, only hearing him say to lead Sunny along the small path ahead. At a fork, I saw a stone tablet carved with the words West Mountain, so I followed it and climbed up. This path was truly too difficult to walk. My feet were pulled to the point of numbness, and my fingers were stiff, almost unable to hold the jar. Sunny walked briskly, biting the hem of my skirt to pull me up. When I was almost frozen into unconsciousness, Ray's voice suddenly rang in my ears. "Cease, do not give up halfway." My heart trembled. Ray always criticized me for being stupid. If he knew I gave up halfway, he would certainly be unhappy. So I gritted my teeth and forced myself to climb up the steep cliff step by step. Finally, I saw a small temple on the mountaintop. Sunny, we are here, we are here. As soon as the words were spoken, my head spun, and my consciousness faded. When I woke up, I was lying on a warm bed. In the room, an extremely handsome man sat by the table reading a book. His figure was slender, his aura otherworldly. Under his long eyelashes were deep eyes different from ordinary people. Too quiet, too cold, like two ancient wells covered in ice with no ripple of emotion, leaving only desolate loneliness. But his eye color was a clear light brown, vaguely reflecting a warm amber hue under the flickering candlelight. Is this the legendary Bodhisattva? I happily propped myself up, but found my fingertips stinging with pain, making me gasp softly. Lord Bodhisattva glanced at me, then brought in a bowl of hot porridge from outside. His voice was as gentle as his eye color. Hungry, aren't you? I nodded shyly. He scooped a spoonful of plain porridge, blew on it lightly and brought it to my mouth. I stared at him blankly. He was so beautiful that I forgot to open my mouth, yet he patiently held the spoon without rushing me. Only when I suddenly realized he was also looking at me did I hastily swallow the spoonful of plain porridge. The porridge cooked by the Bodhisattva was fragrant and sweet, much more delicious than the porridge in the Chu estate. After drinking nearly half a bowl, I suddenly remembered Sunny and quickly called out to the courtyard. Sunny immediately ran into the room with a fragrant chicken leg in his mouth. Clearly, he liked Lord Bodhisattva more than me, constantly circling his feet and wagging his tail ceaselessly. I had porridge to drink, and Sunny had meat to eat. This Bodhisattva was truly too good. Full of food and drink, I intended to open my mouth to tell the Bodhisattva about my wishes. However, he had returned to the table and continued reading under the flickering candlelight, strangely quiet. His thin but straight profile looked like a solitary bamboo tree standing amidst the wind and snow. The room was silent, occasionally only the sound of charcoal popping could be heard. Before long Sunny was snoring, and I also drowsily fell asleep. The next day, the snowstorm had stopped. I spoke slowly. Lord Bodhisattva, thank you for giving me porridge and even giving Sunny meat. I must go back. Yet the Bodhisattva listened very attentively. He did not keep me, but walked me to the door as a response. Before leaving, a thought suddenly occurred to me, and I stuffed the wish jar into his robes. Lord Bodhisattva, can you help me fulfill my wishes? I will definitely come back to repay the vow. He froze for a moment, then whispered a response. All right. I happily waved goodbye to him and led Sunny down the mountain. After walking for a while, I could not help turning my head back and saw Lord Bodhisattva still standing in the same place. Perhaps because few people came to West Mountain to pray on snowy days, Lord Bodhisattva was exceedingly lonely. I secretly decided that whenever I was free, I would come to West Mountain to visit him. When I returned to where the carriage driver stopped yesterday, the place was empty. Even the wheel tracks had been covered by fresh snow. I breathed a sigh of relief. Luckily, the driver was not stupid enough to wait for me, otherwise, he would have frozen into a snowman. But how was I to get back? Looking at the vast white snowfield, I thought frantically, if only a carriage would pass by. Just then, a carriage stopped right in front of me. The driver was a hunter who looked honest and simple. Does the young miss want to return to the capital? I am going that way and can give you a ride. I do not have money. It is fine. The Bodhisattva told me to take the young miss back. The Bodhisattva. My eyes lit up immediately. The Bodhisattva must have heard my prayer. Ray did not lie to me. The Bodhisattva at West Mountain was indeed incredibly efficacious. It was already late afternoon when I returned to the Chu estate. The old woman guarding the corner gate looked as if she had seen a ghost when she saw me, and immediately ran into the estate to report the news. I did not understand what was happening, but still happily returned to my small courtyard. Nanny Lu was fumbling to sweep the snow in the yard. Hearing the noise, she was startled, and the broom in her hand fell to the ground with a thud. Miss, is it you? Have you returned? She rushed over, her cold, rough fingertips trembling as she touched my face, her voice choked. Thank heaven, thank Buddha. The Bodhisattva protected you. It is good that you are safe. Nanny, let me tell you, I really met the Bodhisattva. I held Nanny Lu's hand, unable to hide my joy. The Bodhisattva even promised to help me fulfill my wishes. I had not finished speaking when Raymond stormed straight into the courtyard. Without asking a single question, he scolded me. Cecilia, are you stupid? You can even get lost going to West Mountain Temple. Did you pray to the Buddha to make you any smarter? Do you know how embarrassed I was when the carriage driver came to find me yesterday? I am truly unlucky for 8 lifetimes to be engaged to you. Why are you looking at me? Speak. Or are you speechless again? And my mind spun slower and slower, only stammering. Ray. I am sorry. I could not even say 3 words smoothly. It was truly infuriating. Raymond flung his sleeves and left, not bothering to visit me for half a month. At first I was sad, but gradually I did not have the mind to think about him anymore, because miraculous things began to happen one after another. First, manager he of Jade Mountain Bakery personally brought a basket of cakes to find me. The basket was tightly wrapped in oil paper, still emitting a gentle warmth. I opened it and saw 8 plum blossom-shaped sugar cakes inside, sprinkled with fine sugar and dried cinnamon. The sweet and clear fragrance spread out, enchanting people. Miss Sue, manager he smiled almost flatteringly. This is the batch of plum blossom sugar cakes freshly baked this morning at Jade Mountain Bakery. The very first batch. I specially chose the 8 most delicious ones to bring to you. For me. I stared blankly at the basket of cakes, not daring to believe it. That is right, it is a gift for you. That Bodhisattva instructed that if you like them, Jade Mountain Bakery can deliver them anytime in the future. Bodhisattva. Lord Bodhisattva really gave me plum blossom sugar cakes. I picked one up and carefully took a bite. The sweet, soft taste mixed with the cool fragrance of plums lingered. It was so delicious that I unconsciously narrowed my eyes. Before, I once lined up with Raymond to buy plum blossom cakes. I just wanted to taste a piece, but he disgustedly pushed me to the ground. These plum blossom cakes are all bought for Victoria. You want to eat? Maybe in your next life. Thanks to the blessing of Lord Bodhisattva, I did not need to wait for my next life. I could eat them now. I quickly ran into the room and wrote with crooked handwriting. Thank you, Lord Bodhisattva, for helping me fulfill my first wish. The plum blossom cakes are very delicious. After thinking for a moment, I also drew a small smiley face and a plum blossom next to it. A few days later, an old doctor with white hair and beard carrying a medicine chest was led straight into the small courtyard by a servant. This is Dr. Sun from Spring Grace Clinic. His medical skills are very brilliant, especially in treating eye diseases. The servant introduced him, his expression a bit odd, saying he accepted the request of the Bodhisattva to specially come and examine Nanny Lu's eyes. Nanny Lu panicked and stood up, waving her hands repeatedly. How can I dare to trouble the young miss? My eyes are an old illness, they cannot be cured, do not waste money. Dr. Sun told Nanny to sit down and carefully examined her bit by bit. Nanny, do not worry. These eyes can be cured. The consultation fee and medicine have all been taken care of. He performed acupuncture on Nanny. As soon as the needles went down, Nanny Lu indeed saw a faint light, and she was so excited that tears fell like rain. Dr. Sun instructed, do not cry. I will prescribe a few courses of medicine. Drink them for about a month, and you will be able to see clearly. Saying that, he wrote a prescription and gave it to me. I took it and, together with Nanny, thanked him repeatedly. Since my parents died, I only had Nanny as my only relative. I once begged Raymond countless times to find a doctor to treat Nanny's eyes, but every time he coldly refused. Cecilia, Nanny Lu is your servant, not a member of the Chu family. The Chu family has no obligation to treat her illness. Lord Bodhisattva also had no such obligation. Yet Lord Bodhisattva still selflessly helped me fulfill my wish. As soon as Dr. Sun left, I immediately ran into the room to write the second thank you note. Thank you, Lord Bodhisattva. Dr. Sun came to treat Nanny's eyes. Nanny cried because she was happy. Lord Bodhisattva is truly good. This time, I also drew a pair of eyes curved in a smile. The next day, I could not wait any longer, so I brought homemade cakes up the mountain to repay the vow. Lord Bodhisattva was a man of few words, but when he saw my thank you notes, he carefully put them into a brocade box. Inside that box, there were also 2 pieces of paper with my wishes. They were exactly the 2 things he had helped me accomplish. Even the wishes that were already done, the Bodhisattva still cherished and kept. At that moment, my eyes suddenly stung. Lord Bodhisattva realized I was acting strange, so he extremely gently patted my head. Cecilia, your wishes are very interesting. Interesting. Not childish and not stupid. I stared at Lord Bodhisattva. A warmth rose from the bottom of my heart, spreading strand by strand, flowing through my blood to every limb. Sunny, do you know, we seem to have met the best Bodhisattva in the world. After that, every time Lord Bodhisattva helped me fulfill a small wish, I would scamper up West Mountain to repay the vow. The Bodhisattva seemed to understand my heart, and always sent the hunter Victor Chen to pick me up. That day, I made some mung bean cakes and prepared to go up the mountain to repay the vow when Raymond, who had not appeared for a long time, suddenly blocked my way, his voice cold. Cease. Where do you plan to go? I was startled and whispered a reply. Going to repay a vow. Repay a vow. Repay what? Raymond frowned tightly, strode forward, and snatched the food box from my hand. He glanced at the cakes I made for the bodhisattva, then threw the box straight to the ground. Cease. What is wrong with you lately? Monkey shows to perform, the top courtesan of Thanfong Pavilion coming to the estate to play the zither. Who did those things for you? It was Lord Bodhisattva. Lord Bodhisattva. Raymond looked as if he had heard a joke, the corners of his lips pulling into a mocking smile. Cecilia, do you really think you are a 3-year-old child? What bodhisattva would help you find monkeys and courtesans? Before, when I coaxed you to pray to the Buddha while it was snowing, it was just me and Victoria teasing you for fun. The contempt in his voice was like a needle piercing straight into my heart. My chest hurts. For the first time, I dared to speak up to refute him. It was the Bodhisattva at West Mountain. He has always been helping me fulfill my wishes. West Mountain. Raymond suddenly choked, his eyes immediately becoming tense. He squeezed my shoulder tightly. Cecilia, last time, where exactly did you go? I said it was West Mountain Temple. West Mountain Temple. Isn't West Mountain all the same? I was scared by him and stammered. But I heard it was West Mountain. West Mountain is the Royal Forbidden Gardens, a place where criminals are imprisoned. Raymond was furious, his eyes looking at me even colder. West Mountain imprisons the second prince who was deposed 8 years ago because his mother's clan plotted treason. Where is a bodhisattva? Cecilia, you are truly an idiot. My head buzzed. The second prince. It turned out that the handsome bodhisattva who fed me porridge, gave meat to Sunny, liked to read quietly, secretly arranged a carriage to take me home, and seriously helped me fulfill every small wish, was actually the second prince. But what if he was the second prince? Why could he not be a bodhisattva? He was clearly so efficacious. I looked up at Raymond's face, which was somewhat distorted with anger, yet I did not back down at all. Ray, regardless of which prince he is, in my heart he is the bodhisattva. I must go to repay the vow. Raymond was stunned, seemingly expecting me not to argue. His face turned even more unsightly. Cecilia, I do not allow you to go. If you dare go, our engagement is over. Think carefully. Apart from me, who in this capital would be willing to marry an idiot like you? His words were like blades of ice stabbing straight into my heart. I had heard sentences like that too many times, spoken directly or hinted at. In the past, I would have felt pain and cowered, but this time I did not lower my head as usual. Ray, I am not stupid. I just think a little slower sometimes. I suddenly remembered those light brown eyes looking at me with patience, and my heart immediately gained courage. Bodhisattva does not dislike me for being slow. He is willing to listen to me speak. Raymond slammed the door and left in disappointment. Before leaving, he threw back a sentence. I do not understand what you are saying. Cecilia, Adrian Shen is just a deposed prince. If you rely on him, you will definitely regret it. Knowing that Lord Bodhisattva was actually the second prince, I felt a bit anxious and uneasy, but I still kept my promise to go to West Mountain to repay the vow. However, today West Mountain seemed completely different from usual. Many more guards appeared around the mountain, and a dazzling golden carriage was parked in front of the temple gate. A seasoned eunuch was lowering his voice to instruct everyone. It has been many years. The second prince has finally agreed to come down from the mountain. You all must be sharp for me. I led Sunny to hide behind a fir tree, so tense that I did not dare to breathe loudly. Just then, the temple door creaked open. Lord Bodhisattva stepped out. He was no longer wearing the simple old clothes from my memory. He was clad in white brocade, the cuffs embroidered with raised golden patterns of coiled dragons, reflecting a cold and solemn light under the sun. With each of his steps, all the guards in full armor bowed in unison. Welcome back to the palace, Your Highness. The uniform sound resonated, shaking the snow from the pine branches, making my heart tighten for a moment. He truly was the second prince. Woof woof. In just a moment of distraction, Sunny suddenly dashed away from my feet like a golden bolt of lightning, running straight toward the figure surrounded by people. I chased after him in a panic, but was blocked by a group of guards ordering me to step back. Adrian saw me and Sunny. Without the slightest hesitation, he walked toward us. Lord Bodhisattva. I whispered reflexively, then hurriedly covered my mouth. The corners of his lips curved up almost imperceptibly, and he did not correct my wrong form of address. Cecilia, I have brought the wish jar. I will help you fulfill all your wishes. At that moment, my heart felt as if it had been stung by something. I suddenly remembered Raymond's words about wanting to cancel the engagement, so I blurted out, "Lord Bodhisattva, I have one more wish. Your Highness, it is getting late. His Majesty is still waiting for you in the palace." A thick, heavy white fox fur cloak was presented beside Adrian. The seasoned eunuch's gaze seemed to sweep over me casually, but it carried heavy scrutiny and warning. The words that had reached my lips were suddenly choked back. I suddenly realized that Adrian was the second prince about to return to the palace. He could no longer continue to be my own personal Lord Bodhisattva. However, Adrian took the cloak and draped it over me. His light brown eyes locked onto mine intently, his voice low and gentle. "What other wish do you have? Do not be afraid. Speak slowly." I blinked, trying to smile my brightest smile. "Cease wishes, His Highness. Everything goes smoothly from now on, physical health and a free heart." Adrian paused, then stuffed a jade token into my hand. "In the future, if something happens, just come to the palace to find me." I clutched the jade token in my hand and returned to the Chu estate. As soon as I entered the courtyard, a series of hurried footsteps rang out from outside the institute. Raymond almost rammed open the half-closed courtyard door, his eyes like fire, tempered nails pinned tightly onto the dazzling fox fur coat on me. "Cecilia, wearing such flashy things outside, are you afraid others do not know you climbed up to Adrian?" He shouted at me and I took half a step back. "Ray, I went to repay a vow and happened to meet the second prince returning to the palace. He was afraid I would be cold, so." "What wish can a prince under house arrest help you fulfill?" "Cecilia, do not be too naive. I have investigated. This time Adrian is returning to the palace only for the Empress Dowager's birthday. His mother plotted treason. In this life, he is destined never to raise his head again." Hearing Raymond's words, my heart remained unsettled. Clearly, Lord Bodhisattva himself was imprisoned, yet he still helped me fulfill my wishes one by one. How could the mother of such a good second prince plot treason? I intended to speak up to defend the second prince when Raymond saw the jade token in my hand. "What is this? Is it a love token Adrian gave you?" His voice sounded as if it was squeezed through his teeth. He reached out arrogantly to snatch the jade token. Sonny, who had been squatting by my feet, suddenly sprang up and used his sharp teeth to bite the back of Raymond's hand. "Beast." Raymond was furious. He kicked Sonny away and grabbed a broom to beat him. Nanny Lou hurriedly blocked the way in front of me and Sonny. "Young master, please calm down. The young miss has a pure nature and does not understand the political situation." "She does not understand. Do you also not understand? Nanny Lou, do not forget whose hands your master and mistress died in back then." Nanny Lou kept kowtowing and begging for mercy. Raymond looked at me, hugging Sonny tightly, shrinking on the ground and trembling. His voice was cold as freezing rain. "Knowing clearly that Cecilia is an idiot, you still dare to let her run around. It is fine if she is deceived, but if it implicates the Chu family, I cannot protect you." I suddenly looked up to meet his contemptuous gaze, my voice not loud but carrying clear defiance. "Ray, the second prince did not lie to me." The anger on Raymond's face froze for a moment, then was quickly replaced by a deeper rage born from shame. "Cecilia, who would sincerely help an idiot fulfill wishes. Adrian is merely using you." His words were like a dull knife slicing open a crack in my heart. In the past, Raymond also used to treat me very well. After my parents passed away, I suffered a shock, my mind was no longer complete and my reactions were slow. He was the one who brought me to the Chu family and begged Master Chu to take me in. He taught me to recognize characters, taught me to read poetry, secretly gave me delicious food, and often brought back novel little things. As long as someone dared to mock me as a little idiot, before I could even react, he would roll up his sleeves and rush up to hit them. Such a good Ray. When exactly did he start to change? Perhaps it was from the time he was chosen as the Crown Prince's study companion. He knew more and more children from noble families, and then associated with the talented and beautiful Victoria from the Grand Tutor's estate. His eyes looking at me gradually only held impatience and distance. He even became like others, calling me a little idiot, teasing me with Victoria for fun. I could not help asking softly, "Ray, then are you sincere to me?" Raymond was silent for a long time, as if resentful, squeezing out a few words. "Of course I am." From that day on, the number of times he came to visit me was more than the previous half-year combined. The attitude of everyone in the Chu estate toward me also became extremely subtle. No one cut my allowance anymore. Charcoal for heating was delivered more fully, meals were more exquisite, and there were even servants bringing an acrobatic troupe into my courtyard to perform a monkey show. It was just that having seen those things once, I did not have much interest in seeing them a second time. On the contrary, in my heart, I missed Lord Bodhisattva even more. He had returned to the palace for half a month, but had never forgotten my wishes. Fireworks on the night of the winter solstice, a rabbit kite hanging on the tree, a thick cotton quilt suddenly appearing in the courtyard. I knew it was all arranged by him. Only Lord Bodhisattva would truly grant every request. Unfortunately, I could not repay the vow. Unexpectedly, that day in the Royal Wind Tower I met Lord Bodhisattva again. At that time Victoria was sulking at Raymond. "Raymond, why did you bring this idiot to listen to the opera?" "Victoria," Cecilia begged me several times. It was really annoying. Anyway, I told her to sit in the back by herself, not to affect us. He thought he had helped me fulfill my wish, but he did not know the bitter feeling when I sat in the back row being pointed at by people. When I was most helpless, Lord Bodhisattva held my hand and led me to sit in the front row, ordering the exact play I wanted to see. Raymond could not sit still anymore. He circled from the left to the center, looking like he was bowing respectfully, but his voice was not pleasant. "The second prince has already returned to the palace. There is no need to continue pretending to be a bodhisattva at West Mountain Temple." Adrian glanced at me, his eyes overflowing with a smile. Cecilia prayed to the Buddha in the middle of a snowy day, sincere to the extreme. I have received her wish jar, so naturally, I must help her fulfill her wishes completely. No need for your highness to bother. Cease has her own bodhisattva. I was still wondering where I got a bodhisattva from. Adrian gave a soft humph and went to watch the opera with another lady. Even the fact that Cease wanted to sit in the front row, you did not know. That kind of bodhisattva is not needed. Raymond was angry to the extreme, clenching his fists and turning to growl low at me. "Cecilia, have you seen enough? It is time to go." "Not enough, not enough." I shook my head and looked up, saying, "Ray, you and Victoria go back first. Lord Bodhisattva and I will watch a little longer." When I returned to the Chu estate, it was already evening. The maids thought I had not returned yet, gathering under the wall of the courtyard to whisper and discuss. The young master finally listened to the old master and madam. Tomorrow he will go to the Grand Tutor's estate to propose marriage. Miss Victoria is talented and beautiful, truly a good match for the young master. It is just, what about the one inside? What else can be done? The young master is benevolent. Giving her the status of a concubine is already a great grace. Could he really let an idiot be the main wife? Concubine. I stood frozen in place, still bewildered, not understanding where exactly things went wrong. Nanny Liu, who was always gentle, was trembling with anger. She pulled the door open forcefully and scolded the maids away. Waiting for them to run far, I heard suppressed sobs falling bit by bit from Nanny's chest. "Nanny." I hurriedly stepped forward to hold her hand. "Do not cry anymore. Dr. Sun said crying too much is bad for your eyes. It is this old servant who is useless. This old servant has failed the master, failed the madam." She turned away, tears falling ceaselessly. If the master and madam were still alive, how could they let the young miss suffer such grievance? "This old servant will go find Master Chu to judge." "Nanny, you do not need to waste your effort. Cease becoming a concubine is the best result my father and I discussed." Raymond finished speaking and threw a basket of candied hawthorns at my feet, smiling with strange sarcasm. "Cecilia, this is what the second prince bought for you. Your parents both died at the hands of his mother. It is only right that he compensates you." I was stunned, my fingertips ice cold. Regarding the palace mutiny 8 years ago and the death of my parents, only a few fragmented memories remained in my head, stained with the smell of blood. I basically did not remember who killed them. So, Lord Bodhisattva was the child of my enemy. So those bowls of porridge, those pieces of meat, those wishes were fulfilled one by one. That fox fur coat that was unrealistically warm, that jade token that felt warm to the touch. All were just because Adrian's mother harmed me, causing me to lose my parents. However, why was it that when I remembered the way he quietly read books, remembered the patient look in his eyes when he fed me porridge, remembered the very faint smile when he said my wishes were very interesting, that warmth, the thing lit by his own hands in my heart, not only did not go out but wrapped tightly around my heart strand by strand. I did not believe that he and I were truly separated by a blood feud. I decided to personally go ask him. Finally, waiting until the Lantern Festival, Raymond once again left me behind to accompany Victoria to the Lantern Fair. taking advantage of the servants not paying attention. I secretly sneaked out from the corner door. Just as I was about to run into a small alley, I crashed into a chest carrying a faint scent. It was Adrian. Cecilia, I came to pick you up to see the lantern fair. His brown eyes shone like stars, making my heart beat fast. But I did not forget the main matter. I looked up and asked very seriously, Your Highness, did your mother kill my parents? His eyes trembled slightly, and he shook his head. No. I breathed a sigh of relief and pulled his hand toward the most bustling part of Chang'an. It is good that it wasn't her. Let's go see the lanterns. The lantern fair was crowded with people flowing like water. When Adrian went with me to buy sugar paintings, Raymond and Victoria happened to walk over side by side. Seeing me and seeing the man beside me, the smile on Raymond's face immediately froze into ice. Cecilia, who allowed you to go out on your own? He shouted at me, making me shrink back, reflexively dodging close to Adrian. Just that small movement completely ignited Raymond's anger. Come here. He reached out to pull me, but his wrist was firmly held by another long, slender hand. Adrian took a half step forward, completely shielding me behind him. Raymond, Cecilia does not want to go with you. Raymond acted as if his tail had been stepped on. He yanked his hand back and laughed coldly. Second Prince, whether Cecilia wants to go with me or not, what does it have to do with you? She is my fiancé. The matters between me and her are not for an outsider to intervene in. Fiancé. Adrian spoke calmly. If you truly consider Cease your fiancé, why did you deceive her into going alone to West Mountain Temple on a snowy day, and even bribe the driver to abandon her halfway? If you consider Cease your fiancé, why do you accompany another woman to the Lantern Fair every year, leaving her alone in the deserted courtyard of the Chu estate? If you consider Cease your fiancé, why did you refuse to treat even her closest nanny? With every question, Raymond's face turned a shade paler. I was also stunned to realize that for the past 8 years, remembering Raymond's grace of taking me in, I had silently endured so many grievances. But what made me even more unexpected were Adrian's next words. Raymond, if you consider Cease your fiancé, you should not have seized the Sioux family's inheritance. Those words were like an ice drill boring straight into my brain, buzzing ceaselessly. What inheritance? Raymond always laughed mockingly. I eat and sit idly in the Chu family, how do I have an inheritance? Raymond's face changed abruptly, and his eyes became guilty. The Chu family declined. The Chu family kindly took in Cecilia. Otherwise, she would have long been lost, who knows where, let alone keeping any inheritance. Moreover, how much money are a few ruined fields and a few tattered shops worth? Adrian looked at Raymond for a moment, then shifted his gaze to my confused face. Cecilia, the farms, the shops and money your parents left behind amount to about 30,000 taels in current silver. Since you were 8 years old and relied on the Chu family, all those properties were managed by the Chu family. For 8 years, has the Chu family ever given you a single penny of profit? Have they ever let you see the account books even once? I was completely stunned. Never. The people watching the commotion understood the meaning in Adrian's words and started pointing at Raymond. Raymond could not bear it anymore and asked me aggressively. Cecilia, do you trust him or trust me? I looked at Raymond's distorted face, then looked at the second prince's calm eyes, and decisively held his hand. Right, I trust him. Raymond still wanted to cause trouble, but Victor intervened to block him. Only then did I discover that Victor was basically not a hunter but Adrian's personal guard. After that disturbance, my mood clearly dropped. Adrian then suggested taking me to the riverbank to release lanterns. Write down a wish. He handed me a brush. I hugged the Kongming lantern, looking at the glittering river surface, still thinking about what to write when I suddenly saw someone fall into the water. I recognized that person as Bella, the young Marquis's concubine. In the past, she had helped me and was an extremely kind person, so without having time to think much, I immediately jumped into the river to save her. Luckily, she hadn't drifted far, so I successfully pulled her ashore. Just as I caught my breath, I heard someone say Bella jumped in on purpose to fight for her husband's favor. I was unbearably angry and pointed straight at a panicked figure on the bank. Clearly, that maid had pushed her. However, the maid's mistress, the young Marchioness, accused me instead. Cecilia, you are an idiot. You probably saw it wrong. I really saw it. My father is the current Prime Minister. If I say you saw it wrong, then you saw it wrong. I was so anxious that tears swirled in my eyes, and I instinctively looked toward Adrian. Lord Bodhisattva, I am not lying. His brow furrowed and his voice carried suppressed anger. Can the daughter of the Prime Minister turn black into white and slander others at will? He glanced over to give an order. Men, take this maid to the magistrate's office. I originally thought the capital magistrate would give justice to me and Bella. Only later did I understand that in the face of overwhelming power, even Lord Bodhisattva found it difficult to act. Premier Xiao personally came out to take his daughter back. The mastermind was safe and sound, while the maid bore all the blame. The gossip of the common people made me even more uneasy. The second prince had just come down from West Mountain and had already offended Premier Xiao. His future was likely unpredictable. Premier Xiao, known for holding grudges, would certainly not let Cecilia off. Cecilia was still staying at the Chu estate, so would the Chu family be implicated? I clutched the hem of my clothes tightly, lowered my head. Lord Bodhisattva, should I go apologize to Premier Xiao? No need. Adrian rubbed my head. You are not the one in the wrong. Even without you, Premier Xiao would still move against me. I did not understand why Premier Xiao wanted to target Lord Bodhisattva. I only knew that Premier Xiao was deeply trusted by the Crown Prince and held power over the court and the public. Whether it was Adrian or the Chu family, everyone had to be wary of him. I thought Raymond would definitely kick me out of the Chu estate, but unexpectedly, he was waiting for me in the small courtyard. Cease. Tomorrow I will go with you to the Xiao residence to apologize. His voice suddenly became gentle like in our childhood, making me unaccustomed to it. I frowned and replied, First, return my inheritance to me. He immediately flew into a rage. Cecilia, I see you have been bewitched by Adrian, opposing me at every turn. You used to be very obedient and never talked back to me. Ray, I am stupid, but I am also a person. I know heartbreak, I know disappointment, and I know anger. I looked at him and gritted my teeth. You always made me think that Nanny Lu and I were freeloading at the Chu estate. You belittled me to make me think I was inferior to others. But the truth is I have money. I could have had my own home. Cess, this place is your home. You are my fiancé. Sooner or later, we will be one family. Not anymore. My voice was not loud but strangely firm. Raymond, I want to break off the engagement. Break off the engagement. Raymond laughed out loud, looking in disbelief. Cecilia, besides me, who would want to marry you? An idiot. Lord Bodhisattva will want to. The calmness on Raymond's face completely shattered, his eyes shooting out red beams of rage. Cecilia, do not dream of being with Adrian. Unless I die, you will forever be a person of the Chu family. He flung his sleeves and left. I hurriedly asked Nanny Lu about the inheritance. Nanny Lu burst into tears again. Miss, this old servant asked before. Master Chu said it was all used up. When I went to check the account books, they blinded my eyes. At that time, you were still young and had heart disease. I was afraid you would worry, so I did not dare to say it. I hugged Nanny, the last bit of affection in my heart turning completely cold. Before leaving, I set fire to the curtains in the small courtyard, the flames painting half the sky red. Nanny Lu was about to speak up to advise me. Miss. I raised my hand to stop her, smiling as brightly as a flower. This is what Raymond said himself. If he dies, I will not need to marry him anymore. The next day, I had just returned to the desolate Sioux estate when Bella ran over in a panic, begging me to change my testimony to save the imprisoned maid. Lana was forced. If she did not harm you, she would have been married off to a stable slave. Bella cried as she recounted the 7 years of sisterhood between her and Lana. Speaking emotionally, she wished she could trade her own life for Lana's safety. I thought back and forth, feeling I could not lie to deceive people, so I led her into the palace to ask Adrian for help. Adrian only said 4 words. Overthrow the Prime Minister. Bella's face turned pale, and she silently left the palace. I did not leave. I stood guiltily beside Adrian. Lord Bodhisattva, did I cause trouble for you again? What is wrong with helping a friend? But Premier Xiao's power is too great. Oh. I had not finished speaking when a palace servant entered to report that the Crown Prince had arrived. In a panic, I crawled under the imperial desk. The Crown Prince's voice carried a hint of a smile. Raymond told me everything. Is it worth coming down from West Mountain for a Cecilia? Adrian did not answer. The room was terrifyingly silent. The Crown Prince chuckled softly, walked to the desk, and continued. Adrian, you cannot keep your prince title, and you cannot keep Cecilia either. Just like how your mother lost to my mother back then. I already know your weakness. You cannot win. Imperial brother, fight if you want, but do not touch. Cease. The Crown Prince's voice turned cold. Adrian, what right do you have to negotiate with me? If you know what is good for you, scramble back to West Mountain immediately. I might let you linger on for a few more days. Otherwise, I will make Cecilia die without a whole corpse. I covered my mouth, tears falling drop by drop. It turned out I really had implicated Lord Bodhisattva. After the crown prince left, I crawled out from under the desk. For some reason, the more I wiped the tears on my face, the more they flowed. Lord Bodhisattva, I will not bother you any more in the future. Cecilia. It was the first time Adrian scolded me. As soon as he spoke, he regretted it. He silently took out a small painting and slowly unrolled it. In the painting was a 7 or 8-year-old girl, her expression radiant and lively, her eyes bright as starry skies. The eyebrows and eyes looked strangely like mine. Is this you at 8 years old? His voice was very soft. Cecilia, you are the bravest and smartest girl I have ever met. Then he told me a completely different story. The palace mutiny 8 years ago was not because Consort Su plotted treason. It was a setup arranged by my father and Consort Su to help His Majesty eliminate the Empress's faction. Unexpectedly, the Empress found out and turned the tables to control His Majesty, framing Consort Su for rebellion. Consort Su was forced to commit suicide. Before dying, she entrusted Adrian to my parents and left behind a 7-soul pill. Adrian, in a critical moment, take the 7-soul pill. Although it will damage your mind, it can save your life. To protect Adrian's escape, my parents died under a rain of arrows. When the Empress's people approached step by step, I, an 8-year-old child, stabbed the 10-year-old Aryan hard with a knife, then dragged him before His Majesty and the Empress, loudly denouncing Consort Su. Consort Su harmed loyal officials. My parents both died at Consort Su's hands. I beg your Majesty to seek justice for me. The second prince can also testify. He tried to dissuade Consort Su, but she wanted to kill him. The wound on His Highness's chest was stabbed by Consort Su. People say even a vicious tiger does not eat its cubs, but Consort Su is more poisonous than a tiger. My testimony was exactly what the Empress wanted. His Majesty spared Adrian's life and banished him to West Mountain, while I was escorted home by the Imperial Guards to arrange the funeral for my parents. That night, I pretended to faint, crawled out through a dog hole, and secretly climbed up West Mountain along the back cliff to deliver the consort's blood letter to Adrian. At that time, he was planning to seek death. I held a knife to his neck, my hands scratched and bleeding. Your Highness, hanging yourself is too slow. How about I kill you? Adrian's eyes were red like a collapsed wolf cub. Cecilia, if you have the guts, just do it. The suppressed emotions inside me immediately burst out. I straddled him, scolding and beating him at the same time. It turns out the person my parents and Consort Su exchanged their lives for is a coward. You want to die? I absolutely will not allow it. I saved your life, so you must live for me. You must return a bright sky to Great Chu. Adrian trembled slightly. Why can they all die, but I cannot? Do you think they wanted to die? They were killed by those evil people. Adrian, if you are not even afraid of death, how can you be afraid of those demons? I slapped him. Warm blood stained his lips. He suddenly sobered up completely, blushing as he told me to get off him. Cecilia, I understand. I thought I would not have any interaction with him for a short time. Unexpectedly, 3 days later, the matter of the blood letter was exposed. I secretly went up West Mountain again to force Adrian to hand over the 7-soul pill. They ransacked the Su estate. If they still cannot find the blood letter, I fear they will silence me. Cecilia, you will become an idiot. Being stupid is better than being dead. I stripped off his clothes, found the pill, and swallowed it right in front of him. Adrian, Consort Su trusted you, my parents trusted you, so I also trust you. The 7-soul pill has an antidote. Find it for me. After going down the mountain, I gradually became dull-witted and was taken in by the Chu family. As for Adrian, during the long years of imprisonment, he always hid my small painting in the pages of his books, looking at it every day, never forgetting. He said, returning a clear sky to Great Chu, I have never forgotten. Finding the antidote for you, I have also never forgotten. Cecilia, I just never thought I would meet you again at West Mountain. Seeing your wish jar, I knew you were not living well. I could not acknowledge you, so I could only use the name of the Bodhisattva to help you fulfill those small wishes. I knew doing so would soon expose my strength, but I could not control myself. In my heart you were never a burden. You are still that smart and brave Cecilia from that year. Even if you lost your mind, you were still full of vitality, able to write such interesting wishes. I stroked the small painting, unable to believe the formidable little girl in Adrian's words was really me. It turned out that warmth was not compensation but 8 years of guardianship and reunion. It turned out that from the beginning, When I followed that small path, I unconsciously walked toward West Mountain because I had walked this path twice before. It turned out the fate between me and Lord Bodhisattva had long been buried deep. Cecilia. Now everyone my weakness. Are you afraid? I shook my head decisively. Not afraid. Consorts trusted you, my parents trusted you, and I also trust you. He froze. In his eyes that used to be a frozen wasteland, a spring breeze seemed to blow through. I promise, this time we will not lose. With Bella's help, evidence of Prime Minister Xiao's crimes was clearly investigated, and the Xiao family collapsed. The Crown Prince was implicated, his power heavily damaged. In a rage, His Majesty made an exception and handed the power of regent to Adrian. The implication of this was self-evident. Everyone understood that if the Crown Prince was unworthy, His Majesty could change the heir at any time. The one in Phoenix Grace Palace could no longer sit still. The Empress organized a spring banquet, ostensibly to choose a consort for Adrian. Raymond intentionally sat opposite me and spoke loudly. Today we have good wine and exotic dishes. Why not play a drinking game to add some excitement? Cecilia, I heard that lately, you have been accompanying the second prince to study. Why don't you start first? I clenched my sleeves, my mind blank as soft laughter rang out around me. Adrian put down his wine cup and calmly continued. Sace is shy, so I will start the first round. He looked at me, his gaze gentle. The moon comes out bright, the beauty is lovely. It is your turn, Cease. I looked at him blankly, remembering what he taught me yesterday, and softly replied. The graceful beauty, my heart is troubled. The smile at the corners of his lips deepened. The moon comes out white, the beauty is lovely. I almost blurted out. The elegant beauty, my heart is anxious. He recited one line and I responded with another. They were all verses of entanglement from the Book of Songs. He started, and I answered, flowing as smoothly as if practiced 1,000 times. The entire hall fell silent. The previous mocking gazes turned into astonishment. Wasn't Cecilia an idiot? Were these two openly flirting? Did the Second Highness really want to marry an idiot? In the face of those doubts, Adrian stood up and knelt in the middle of the hall. Imperial Father, Miss Xu and I share the same heart. I beg Imperial Father to grant us marriage. The Emperor, whose illness had just improved, darkened his face. Adrian, have you thought this through? Cecilia's mind is not complete. I have thought it through. He answered without hesitation. In this life, if it is not Cecilia, I will not marry. The Empress clapped her hands in satisfaction, actively matchmaking me and Adrian. Your Majesty, it is rare for Adrian to have such heart. Miss Xu is pure and lovely, and has a destiny with Adrian. Why not fulfill the children's wishes? Before Adrian's determination, His Majesty finally granted the marriage. Among those present, besides His Majesty's unpleasant expression, I also saw Raymond, his face pale, his body swaying as if half his life had been drained away. Before the wedding day, Raymond suddenly ran to the Sioux estate to find me. He looked much more haggard, complex emotions gathering on his face that I could not understand. Sace, if you regret it now, there is still time. For the sake of old times, the Chu family can still tolerate a concubine. I laughed out of anger. Raymond, I have the chance to be a princess consort but refuse, only to become your concubine. You are the one who is the idiot. His face immediately darkened, the last light in his eyes turning into gloomy cruelty. Cease, then when the time comes, do not blame me. I recounted every single word to Adrian. He smiled. Should I thank Raymond? Thanks to his stupidity and selfishness I was able to marry Cease. I blushed in shame, but my heart was indescribably sweet. Knowing clearly that the wedding day would be filled with danger, I still wholeheartedly wanted to marry Lord Bodhisattva. Sure enough, that day, before Adrian and I could even bow to heaven and earth, the Crown Prince's men surrounded the Hall of Supreme Harmony. This time, the Empress, just like 8 years ago, controlled His Majesty and pinned the label of treason on Adrian. The sound of swords clashing and killing approached rapidly. Wet for me. Adrian let go of my hand, held his sword, turned, and walked out to the battlefield outside the hall. My heart tightened. I ran to the door, looking at his back and whispering, Lord Bodhisattva, please, you must return safely. His steps paused for a moment, but he did not turn back. If he were only my own Bodhisattva, he could turn back. But he was the second prince of Great Chu, carrying the weight of the rivers and mountains and the common people on his shoulders. He could only move forward. Victor handed me a poison needle. His Highness values affection. If the princess consort is unfortunately captured, please remember to sacrifice yourself for the country. I nodded. When Raymond wanted to control me, intending to escort me to the Meridian Gate as a hostage, I was quick and accurate. I ruthlessly stabbed the poison needle into his neck, sacrificing the enemy for the country. My understanding surely was not wrong. The palace mutiny quickly subsided. When Adrian returned, his wedding robes were so dark red they looked black. I killed the Empress and the Crown Prince, and also Imperial Father. Lord Bodhisattva, you killed His Majesty. Realizing my panic, he grasped my ice-cold hand. Cease. Back then, Imperial Father knew clearly that my mother loved him deeply. Yet he used that very affection, setting up a situation for my mother and the Empress to fight, while he sat back and reaped the benefits. Only moments before her death did my mother realize she had been plotted against by the person she loved most. Her heart turned cold, and she took her own life. In the blood letter she left behind, there were actually only 4 words: Your Majesty failed me. Today, Imperial Father wanted to use the same old trick again. He looked at me, his eyes bloodshot yet filled with a sense of relief. I merely learned from your method, using a sharp knife to cut through the chaos. There are times when there is no need to speak of reason. Once the demons are all dead, the world will naturally become clear. I nodded in agreement. Lord Bodhisattva, I will not preach reason to demons either. Rather than advising them that the shore is behind them, it is better to chop off their heads and hang them right on that shore. A smile flashed in his eyes and his voice softened considerably. Actually, there is another reason. You still have many wishes that have not been fulfilled. How could I have time to waste on them? After Adrian ascended the throne, he brushed aside all objections and resolutely refused to take any concubines. Have you all forgotten? The mistakes of the previous dynasty are still there, maternal relatives bringing disaster to the nation. Moreover, the Empress has recovered her mind. I have her alone, and that is enough. An old censor frowned. The Empress has recovered her mind, so why does she still go to the Southern Wind House to listen to music? I allowed it. Occasional relaxation does not harm the nation's prestige. Then why did the Empress bow to a bandit as her master? The Empress is eager to learn. She is an example for me. Then how do you explain the matter of the Empress wearing the dragon robe and sitting on the dragon throne? Your Majesty, that is great disrespect. Adrian was asked until he broke out in a cold sweat. I also did not expect that when she was little, she would write such an interesting wish as if only I were the emperor. A child speaking nonsense, I do not mind it, so why are you ministers so anxious? In short, I dared to wish, and he dared to make it happen. Whether he was a prince or an emperor did not affect the fact that he was my own personal bodhisattva. It was just that those tactless ministers, seeing they could not sway His Majesty, turned to advise me. Your Majesty the Empress, expanding the harem is also your responsibility. I slammed my brush down hard, telling me to find concubines for my own husband. Are you not ashamed to say such things? If your wives went find gigolos, would you be happy? They were speechless. Then they used the reason of hairs to suggest that I select beauties for Adrian. I cited the rebellion of the previous crown prince, stating clearly that children matter in quality. They spoke again. But currently, His Majesty does not have a single hair. I slammed the table and stood up. Are you saying His Majesty is impotent? Drag them all out. Actually, it was not that Adrian was incapable, but that he had not touched me yet. He said he wanted to wait for me to completely recover my mind so I could choose for myself. Having no other choice, I took the initiative to invite him onto that flower-filled boat from years ago. Under the stars and moon, the water flowed gently, and the fragrance of flowers was intoxicating. We sat side by side at the bow of the boat. He asked softly, Cease, do you have any other wishes? I thought for a moment. My first wish is for Great Chu to enjoy peace and prosperity, the country secure and the people at peace. My second wish is for your Majesty to be healthy and forever without worries. My third wish. My face felt a little hot. I wish for us to grow old together, with a house full of children and grandchildren. He listened silently, my reflection clearly printed in the depths of his eyes. I stared at it until I felt flustered. I whispered and asked, What about you, Lord Bodhisattva? He took my hand and placed it over his heart, speaking every word very slowly. Truth be told, in this life I only hope that Cease has everything she wishes for, healthy and free. West Mountain, a prayer amidst the wind and snow. Bodhisattva, return slowly. Sonny, we truly have met the best Bodhisattva in the world. The story of Cecilia and Adrian teaches us that true miracles often reside in human kindness rather than divine intervention. While others mocked Cecilia's innocence, her pure sincerity led her to a love that healed her soul. It reminds us that a true partner is not someone who belittles you, but someone who listens to your smallest wishes and becomes your sanctuary. Adrian proved that love is defined by patient actions, a bowl of porridge, a warm cloak, and unwavering protection. Ultimately, even in the harshest winter of life, a sincere and brave heart will always guide you to the warmth you deserve. The story ends here for now. If it touched your heart or left you thinking, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Please like, subscribe, and share Raccoon Tale to help more stories come to life. See you in the next tale.